This is why I don't get, I mean, people say gardening's too much work. And I just don't understand the statement. I mean, I planted these in April or May, I can't remember. Probably took an hour to get this whole bed in, maybe a little bit more, probably an hour. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I'm out here picking some beets. Lots of people have been asking me to do a video on how I make pickled beets. So I gotta pick some beets to do that. So I'm out here picking them, and I thought I'd make a separate video just talking about a weedy garden, because this garden is very weedy. I think this is fireweed here, and this is some other weed, and this is some other weed. Got some dill there, I got some plantain, I got just about every kind of weed you can imagine in here. Whatever these things are, some kind of sorrel, I guess. But I also have beets in here. And you know, I like my gardens to be neat and tidy, and I like them to look nice. But I also don't like working in the garden, really. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably noticed that I don't do a lot of videos in July and August where I'm out here doing like work in the garden. I might be out here picking something, I might be talking about things like that, but I don't actually tend to do a lot of work in July and August. To that effect, I really don't water the garden in July and August. I don't weed, I don't do anything. All I do in July and August is collect food and try to stay on top of things. Maybe a little bit of, you know, if I've got a plant that needs to be trellised, I might be out, you know, helping up the trellis, something like cucumbers or beans and stuff like that, but I really don't do a lot of work. And it's because during that time of the year, I just don't like to work in my garden. Got enough to do, right? So if I have you know, a spare Saturday morning, I don't really, I mean, it's really hot out here. There's a lot of flies and things like that, July and August. And I just have things I'd rather do. I'd rather go to the beach, go fishing, things like that. So I tend to let things just, you know, either I've got a bed set up really well and it's mulched in such a way that it doesn't get a lot of weeds, or I haven't done a very good job of that. And as long as, to my satisfaction, the plants are growing, I just don't care, and I deal with it in September, October, November, that time of year. When it's cooler and it's nicer, and I've got that, I don't know, for some reason I get this fall energy. Maybe it's the fall rut, I don't know. But I just get this energy in the fall and I want to do stuff. It's probably because it just isn't as hot and I'm not getting harassed by, you know, mosquitoes and black flies and horse flies and deer flies and stuff. Anyway, I'm out here, and if you look at this garden, you can see that it's a real mess of weeds. I'll get a couple shots in here so you can just see how tangled of a mess it is. But despite the fact that it's a tangled mess, there's lots of beets in here. So what I'm doing right now is just picking some beets while simultaneously weeding the garden. So let's go at her here. I just like, you can sort of see I've already started over here and done a section. That was the last batch of beets I did. I'm not using the tops of these beets at this time of year. You can eat the tops, but I get so many things that are edible like this, and I like eating beet greens in the spring, not this time of year. So I mean, you can see I'm still getting plenty of beets. I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna win any fall fairs or anything like that, but I don't care about that. I grow the vegetables to eat. That's it. I mean, despite all these weeds, look how much beets I'm getting out of this. I'm gonna pick enough to make a batch. I basically, you know, I plant my beets in April, May, that sort of thing. And I leave them in the ground and use them as I need them, right up until, you know, I start getting worried about us getting a frost. And before we have a frost, I pick all of them. So these, I'm probably going to pick enough here so that we can pickle some and eat some. I think they've still got a few more weeks with no frost. I think it was down to 8 degrees Celsius last night. So it's getting cooler at night. You know, if you remember when I planted this, I had all this wood and cardboard and stuff like that. I just left it all there. You know, plants didn't seem to care at all. I got lots of nice beets. Here's one that kind of bolted a little bit. This one's probably not as good in terms of its tenderness and all that. That weed just came right out. So I mean, this is why I don't get, I mean, people say gardening's too much work. And I just don't understand the statement. I mean, I planted these in April or May, I can't remember. Probably took an hour to get this whole bed in, maybe a little bit more, probably an hour. And I really haven't done anything. I watered it a little bit in May, because you know, we have the odd week where it was kind of dry, and when you get your young seedlings, they're a little bit vulnerable. But that's pretty much it. I probably should have mulched these around the beginning of June, but the shutdown of COVID-19 just all the ways I normally gather mulch just kind of sidetracked by all that, so I didn't get to do that. But despite that, you know, and you can tell, I've only been working a few minutes here, and I'm, you know, got a half decent haul so far here. So I mean, you got a lot of, you can barely even tell when you know, if you walked by this garden, you probably couldn't even tell that there were beets growing in here. But there's a lot of beets growing in here. So, you know, and there's some plants that are just like that. They don't seem to mind being in with weeds. Some do, some don't. My general approach is once we have a nice dry day, is that everything that's on here that can be shredded up, I'll stick it, no, everything's too wet right now, right? But I'll stick it in a wheelbarrow, I'll bring it into my backyard, run over it with a lawnmower. Or I'll just leave it right here like this and deal with it in the spring. It really depends on my mood and what I've got time to do. I mean, I tend to organize tasks in my life in an order of things I have to do, things I want to do, and everything in between, right? So running a lawnmower over all of this and shredding it up is not a thing I have to do, and it's also not really a thing I want to do. It's just a thing that might be useful, right? I want to go fishing. I want to do fun stuff with my kids, right? I want to do those things, right? Some sort of garden chore that may have some marginal effect on productivity in a future year. Those are things that are be nice to do, but they're definitely not have to do type things, right? So, you know, weeding this bed is kind of a have to do. I mean, I don't want these weeds to grow anymore. There's probably another month of growing, right? It's, what is that? Magnificent weed that is. Probably another month of growing. So I don't want these weeds to be any more established or put any more flowers out. All right, that's certainly enough for some pickled beets and a side dish for my meal tonight or tomorrow. So I think I'll stop there and just leave that rest for next time. So yeah, not a bad haul for just a few minutes of weeding. Now half this bed is weeded, and I've harvested half the beets in this bed. I already did about a third of it before, and I got another meal over there to be dealt with. I'm not even going to bother with that today. So don't be overwhelmed by the weeds and the things you got to do, and don't be too bothered by weeds over the course of the summer. It's a good thing to stay on top of, and for certain things you're growing, it matters a lot to stay on top of the weeds. For other things, it doesn't matter so much. Someone will probably ask me, can you make a list of all the things it matters for and all the things it doesn't matter for? I can't do that. I don't know. I can tell you for beets, you know, it doesn't seem to matter so much, right? Look, that's a good crop, good haul. Now, I mean, most of the weeds that are growing here are the result of the fact that I mulch my gardens using yard waste. So most of these things are lawn weeds. But, you know, so people will freak out when I admit that. And when you see all the weeds in this bed here, you might be a bit overwhelmed by it. But what was the cost to me, right? I haven't done any work in this garden all summer long. Haven't watered it, weeded it, fertilized it, nothing. Haven't done nothing all summer long. Just stuck the seeds in the ground, watered it a little bit in May. That's it, right? Maybe a bit in June. And now I'm picking my beets. While I'm picking the beets, I pull the weeds out, right? They're really not a problem, not a big deal. And all of this material will break down and feed the organisms in the soil and give me a productive garden for next year. And sure, there's some weed seeds in there. Don't care, not worrying about it. So I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.